Welcome to Woodlawn Talks. This is your host, Jaron Carney, senior pastor here at Woodlawn, and this is my best day yet. And literally is my best day because I am going to be having my brother joining us on the Woodlawn Talks podcast, Jay Carney. And if you know us, you know how close we are. He's my best friend, and we were close before our father's passing, but since Dad passed, we have grown extremely close and talk every day. And although I could not get him to Columbia to be in studio with us, we made a way for Zoom, and I want him to talk about something that he is so passionate about, and that is culture and what he has been able to accomplish through his incredible team at Life at Tupelo is just amazing, and it's so good that it needs to be shared. And so today I'm going to welcome him via Zoom, and we're going to have a good time talking. Thank you for joining us. I hope you learned something, and let's go. It's so good to have my brother, Pastor Jay Carney, from Tupelo with us today in the Woodlawn Talks podcast. And although he is not in the room, he is on Zoom with us today. And I can't get him to come to Columbia for anything. He acts like there's a magnet in Tupelo. And but Jay, thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to talk to you for a few minutes.
Man, it's truly an honor to be here. And I don't know about coming to Columbia. I need about a 15-minute notice and half of an excuse. So don't let that stop you. But it is truly an honor to be here on the Woodlawn podcast today. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And I just want to talk about, kind of the story of Tupelo, not so much, the where you are now, but just kind of how you got there. The story is just amazing. The growth that has taken place, just the culture that you've been able to help create there at Life at Tupelo. And so, tell us a little bit, like how long you been there? What's that look like? I know how much you love Tupelo. It just comes out in conversation, but. What did that look like? How did you get there?
First of all, man, we do love Tupelo, but we do miss Columbia. We miss our family and our friends. And we have been here, hard to believe. January was 7 years, January of 2017. And we were privileged to become the pastor of a church called First United Pentecostal Church of Tupelo, which we have since renamed Life at Tupelo, and had about 75 people when we first came. And God has been so good to us and so thankful. We have about 500 that call Life at Tupelo their home now, and
Wow,
averaging about
7 years.
350, 360 on a Sunday, and just exciting to see what God's doing. Rejoice over 5 being baptized this past Sunday, and thankful for what God has done and is doing, and we believe will continue to do here in Tupelo, Mississippi, and Northeast Mississippi. So honored to be here today.
Yeah, well, Jay, I know you're busy, and I appreciate you taking the time. And I feel like what you're going to share today is going to help so many in the church world, but also just as individuals, businesses, organizations, communities. And so you were in the business world for many years, and you have taken so many of the lessons that you learned there, and you have applied that to Life at Tupelo. And so I want to talk about just that culture that you have been able to help create. Why don't you just tell us the importance that you feel of fostering a healthy leadership culture within churches, within organizations? What is the importance of that, and how have you been able to get that started?
Culture is certainly at the core of what we have tried to create from the very first day we came on site here. You can't really create culture, as many people say. You can only be culture. And, our Father taught us that, people do what people see. Our kids, do what we do, not what we say. And I believe that, culture, we can have a great vision, but culture trumps vision every single time. Coming from the secular world and having the opportunity to be around Maxwell, and most of us have been at Walmart in our communities. And Walmart's secrets to success is the 10-foot rule. And most people, when you ask them what the 10-foot rule is, that they don't know that. But Sam Walton encouraged every associate to take the pledge that basically, I solemnly promise and declare that every customer that comes within 10 feet of me, I will smile, I will look them in the eye, I will greet them, and I will ask if I can help them. And, I'll ask anyone listening today, when is the last time an employee of Walmart did that to you? Let me take a guess. Probably not at all. Usually when I go in there, I have to try to find someone to ask them a question. And so vision always trumps or is trumped by culture. And so it's important that, we say what we do and do what we say.
That's awesome, man. I was just privileged to be at your church for the Motion Conference, and I got to see, your congregation absolutely embody that culture that you're talking about today. It was beautiful to see just the hospitality, the love, and you could just tell they had already not adapted, just kind of culture had became who they were. The culture that you embody, that you've been preaching and practicing. Jay, why do you think that love and unity are just essential qualities for a successful organization, a successful leadership team? I saw that in action, but why do you feel that is so important for success?
If you ask me, basically, to sum up the Bible in one word, it would probably be love. When the people ask, Jesus, what the greatest commandment was, that's what he started with, was in Matthew 22, 39 through 37 to 39, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. And then he went on, hey, this is the first and the greatest one. But he said, the second is like unto it, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And so, our Father, man, he taught us real well. I think it boils down to this: loving God and loving people. And we just tried to create that culture. If they come through our doors, we want them first to know that we love God, but secondly, we want them to know that we love them. And I think that's at the core of what we're trying to create here. And thankful that, after 7 years, you can see some of the fruits of our labor and what God has done in their life.
Well, with that, we're in the church world, and so everything we do is about reaching the lost. It's about trying to get the unchurched inside the church. And those two things that you just talked about, love and unity, that can be felt when someone meets you in town. That can be felt when someone enters the doors of your church. And so what are the strategies that you've used for engaging your congregation to reach the unchurched?
To reach the unchurched, we had to change basically the culture of our church from just people inviting people to church to bringing them to church. We tried to change our culture that, hey, you're called to be the church. We're not just we're not just called to come to church. And that's what, we were raised basically, hey, it's important to come to church. And that's very, very important. But we've been very intentional about trying to, we don't need to forget Jesus's last command to us. And that is, hey, go and make disciples. And, we as pastors, as leaders of organizations, we've got to be leading by examples. And I try to remind our people often. I ask our people this question. It's very pointed, but that is this: hey, what is your disciple's name? We have to make it personal. We have believed the message of Jesus Christ for many years, but we've forgotten about his methods. And we want to win the world, but we can't forget about the one, the kid at school, the lady on the job, a family member. It's about just being the church wherever circle of influence you may be in right now. And life and seasons change, but us being the hands and feet of Christ, that method does not change on a daily basis.
Jay, you've been able to create a culture of excellence. I know we've talked about how to create culture. We talked about love and unity and reaching the lost, but everything that you put your hands to, your job and your goal is to make that excellent. And thankfully, you and I both learned that from our father. He's the saying that he's used for years, and my staff still quotes it to me pretty often. Is it just costs a few more dollars to go first class? And what he was saying is whatever it takes, you got to be excellent. You got to be excellent in presentation, excellence, in your campus, excellence in your activities, excellence in your ministry, worship. He just believed in excellence, and you have literally brought that to the city of Tupelo. You're not only growing as a church, but you're so involved in your community, business leaders, and we knew you would be whenever you got there. But what are the key elements that you feel like are essential to creating that culture of excellence?
We are not called to be perfect, but I do feel like that God deserves our very best. Having been in the secular world for almost 33, 34 years, the buzzword in the business world was continual improvement. That wherever you're at, there's always room for improvement. And most medium-sized communities, we have a Chick-fil-A, and I think that's a good corporate example. What do you hear in most of their restaurants? It's my pleasure. Thank you. And my thoughts is this is where vision and culture basically match up. We as a church, we you know we should not only try to put systems and structures in place. They're very, very important. But there's a difference between church systems and church culture. When I look at it from a macro perspective, systems are methods of planning. We should continue to be planning. And yes, hey, without a doubt, we need the right systems in place. But the culture aspect, the culture is the climate when you're planting those seeds. And, our goal here in Tupelo is we're trying to create the right culture that, hey, God can do an incredible work. When hearts are open, people feel love, they can begin to grow when the right culture is in place. And so we think that's very important, that, hey, we do everything to our best ability. God deserves our very best. And, especially in kingdom-minded stuff. Chick-fil-A can do it, and or the other organizations like that. Hey, the church world can do that as well. And that's what we want to create. But, hey, we're thankful for a good motion conference. And man, our people were so overjoyed and thankful to have it here. But after this has been over, we're asking, hey, what can we do to do better if we're ever asked or given the privilege of hosting that again? What do we learn? What do we do right? What do we learn? What can we change going forward? And so it's continually looking at those processes and discussing that with the people. because no matter where you're at, there's always room for growth.
Yeah. What I've noticed, Jay, is there's just a heavy leadership culture there. Like you're building leaders. And we know the 80-20 principle, 20% of the people do 80% of the work. And you and I, our goal, both of us, is to build leaders, because leaders build people. And you can't do it by yourself. We're only as good as the team in which we surround ourselves with. What have you done to create that leadership culture? Where I know you're investing in your business leaders. You and I talked about that recently. Uh, why is it that we should prioritize leadership culture?
Everything rises and falls on leadership. A church only grows by the number of volunteers serving. We believe that everybody's created for a purpose. And man, if you can create that passion with them and get them aligned with their purpose, you know, I think that's where, growth and multiplication, starts taking place. And, when people come into our church, we're trying to find out, hey, where do you fit in? What has God called you to do? And so we are continually, trying to give people opportunity, give them an opportunity to grow and learn. Um, and we're involved here locally with Transformation Tupelo, and it's about teaching people values. And if you can teach people values, then they become more valuable, and they realize that, hey, God does have a plan for my life. Hey, I can take initiative. Hey, my attitude does matter. And getting people to see those things, then they can take responsibility. They have hope. They realize that, hey, I'm called to do something. I can make a difference. My story is important, and everybody we meet has a story. Everybody we encounter, they've encountered issues, and we believe that God can use that for the purpose and kingdom in their life. And so we try to get them engaged early on. In the church world, we want to win them to Christ, but first you got to, before that you got to win them to the church, and then even before that you got to win them to you. And when they know that they're loved, they know that they're valued, then they are certainly going to be the kind of person that wants to bring value to the organization they're a part of. And so I would say that's what we're trying to do, not only at Life at Tupelo, but in this city. We're trying to impact every stream of influence, from education to business, certainly the faith world, but sports, arts, media, getting people to live by values. And, the book, Malcolm Gladwell, The Tipping Point, that, we believe if we can get, 10% of this community living by values, we can transform this community. And that's what we're trying to do, one person at a time, sitting around tables, having discussion and dialogue of, hey, how can we grow? How can we become more valuable?
Jay, this has been fun and encouraging and challenging. I appreciate so much you coming on, and man, we rejoice with what is happening in Tupelo, Mississippi. Life at Tupelo, the city. The best is yet to come, and man, you just broke ground on a new building. Tell our audience just about the new project for the church.
And we're excited. We had a building and we were doing 2 services. It's about to have to go to 3. We decided that, hey, let's try to put it on the market and see if we could sell it. And man, one of the larger churches here in Tupelo approached us and was looking for a youth center. And they purchased it. But I told them when they purchased it, hey, you got to work with us till we find what we're looking for. And the orchard here in Tupelo has been so gracious and kind to us that we're meeting there on Sunday afternoon right now. 4 o'clock worship, and then 7 o'clock Tuesday night. But the latter part of 2023, we found an old car dealership, the old Ford Lincoln dealership, and we purchased that. And we broke ground, did the demo, and we're hoping to have our plans ready this week to submit to the city. And we're excited to have a new location on the major north-south corridor, the heart of Tupelo, Gloucester Street, 1195 South Gloucester. And so Man, we're hoping to start that process in the next 30, 45 days and just see what God can do. But it's exciting to have a life-giving church on the south side of Tupelo, hopefully here in the next year and a half. And so we covet your prayers. A lot of work to be done, but it's just beginning. And so we're excited to start construction here soon.
I got to see that property last week. It's in an incredible location, and I've seen the renderings. Tupelo is not ready for what is about to be life at Tupelo. And I love you, brother. You're my best friend, and so fun doing life and ministry with you. And I could not be more excited about what is happening in the city of Tupelo. Thank you for coming, Jay. And to our audience, thank you for joining us. I hope you have enjoyed this Woodlawn Talks podcast, and I hope you've grown today. I hope you can take some nugget that was presented, and make this your best day yet.